What is going to be really more appropriate in this case is the TPS thin films utility. And this is just a little graphic demonstrating this, essentially the testing process of a TPS thin films measurement. It's essentially a 3-point test that is done. You have your standard TPS sensor with a conductive backing material. This is actually part of the initial test or measurement that is performed, essentially taking a blank. You can view it as like a blank or a baseline measurement. And then you will essentially repeat the testing here with that same conductive backing in the sensor, but now with a layer of that film added onto the top side and to the bottom side of the sensor in that stack. This is repeated one final time, so you have 3 separate measurements that are then used to quantify the thermal conductivity of that adhesive film or thin film or even coating. These are the kind of the core thinner format samples that this utility really accelerates at. Now, the ISO standard is 1. There's also an ASTM, but ISO 22007-2 is one standard that does detail quite a bit of information on the TPS thin film. So just put a little excerpt here, talking about, the requirement for that conductive backing material, kind of testing different thicknesses. I will say, if you're interested in the TPS method as an option for your material analysis, the ISO is a good starting point to kind of get informed on what the system is designed for, what those different utilities offer. But I wanted to show you here, this is just an example of what the Trident software from C-Therm actually looks like when you're running a TPS thin films measurement. So as I said, it's a 3-point test, and you can see what you're essentially doing here is measuring that delta T, that change in temperature that occurs as a function of time. This is then plotted as against the thickness of the material. And we're essentially doing a linear regression through this step process to quantify the conductivity. So this is the setup and kind of the approach that was used in the testing of the adhesive films that Matt will be going in to present here shortly. But we've also tested a variety of other materials, like different reference samples. We do have a variety of application notes on TPS and specifically the thin films utility that are available. Again, all of this is free resources through the website, and you can follow the QR codes on screen. But if you are looking to get more examples or more information on this type of testing, we're certainly happy to provide that.